Good morning, everyone. We're going to continue to talk about the time vulnerable DeFi series, Change 8, Puppet. Uh, Today, we're going to learn also the so-called Uniswap V1 exchange protocol over here. You can click this link to know more information about Uniswap V1. Essentially, it's a decentralized exchange to allow user to exchange a token A to B or the other way around, exchange B to A. So we call this is a pair. So you can consider this is like a market. This market is driven by a smart contract called Uniswap. So the money maker is not human. The money maker is automatic. It's the algorithm. So you can think of it like you exchange US dollar to Canadian dollar, exchange Canadian dollar to US dollar. But in the contract, they have both. So in the contract, they have a US dollar, they also have a Canadian dollar. So you can exchange one way or the other. Okay, assuming they never run out. Okay, and why they don't never run out? Because there are always people who are able to take the exchange fee. So there are some people who put it both Canadian and dollar, the pair in the contract, and this is so-called liquidity. So once you put it into liquidity, then the user will be able to exchange A to B, B to A, but you pay a little bit exchange fee. And those people who put in the both in the liquidity, they will take the swap fee. So that's how they earn money. All right. And one thing that we need to make sure is what is the price. The price is always going to be the amount of token A divided by the amount of token B. So that will be the price for the exchange. So as you can imagine, if people keep exchanging A to B, then you are going to have more A. A will go up and B will go down, and that means B's price will go up, and vice versa. Okay, so this is why the price of the exchange will change, depends on the amount of A and B in the liquidity. So let's come back to this. So the come back to this. The contract itself today is going to be very simple. It's called a Puppet pool. So the idea of the Puppet pool is that suppose you have there are a lot of tokens in the pool you can lend. However, you only have 25 Ethereum and 1,000 DVT. The idea of this lending pool is this: you need to put it into a so-called collateral. So collateral means you put something there so that you can borrow. And in this case, you are going to store Ethereum, the native token. When you borrow, you call it borrow function. So it's a payable function. So you are going to store the Ethereum here, and then you are able to borrow. And the amount of borrow you can borrow. So suppose you want to borrow this amount, then what you need to deposit is twice the value of the amount into the contract. So in other words, you borrow less than you put it in. That's all. So if you put $100 in, you can only borrow $8, for example. But in this example, if you put $100 in, you can only borrow $50, half of it. So suppose you want to borrow $50 over here, then you are going to calculate how much you're going to borrow this amount. Then you are going to calculate how much Ethereum is required. This is called calculate deposit required. So the calculate deposit required basically is going to call the price of the token right now. Okay, by calling the oracle. The oracle is a contract that you can get price. In this case, the oracle is going to be Uniswap. Okay, so you call the Uniswap dot balance. Uniswap pair dot balance means how much the Uniswap pair on that particular native token. In this case, it's it's the Ethereum. Okay, so how much Ethereum owned by Uniswap pair, this contract, and then times the so this you can consider this is token I. So Ethereum is token I times 10 to the 18 because we need to do the decimal. Okay, we are looking for uh, one token, how much 10 to the 18 decimal, how much it's going to be, and then divided by the amount of tokens, in Uniswap pair. So this token is the B. So token A is the Ethereum, token B is the token you want to borrow. Okay, so this will give you the value per 10 to the 18, token B. Okay, assuming you are borrowing token B. So this return will return not the price token because that's too little. So that it's the price per 10 to the 18 tokens. Okay, 10 to the 18 tokens, which is in reality is one token because 10 to the 18 is the decimals. Okay, but it depends on you. If you want to consider that's like one way token, and this is 10 to the 18 tokens. So either you say one token or to the 10 to the 18 token, depends on if you consider this a decimal or not. So once you do that, then so this is a 10 to the 18. Actually, I like to call 10 to the 18 tokens. So 10 to the 18 tokens price times amount, and then you divide 10 to the 18 because so you might be wondering why do I want to multiply 10 to the 18 and then divide this? Well, this is to avoid precision loss. If you don't multiply first, then this division you are going to lose the precision because you do division too early. So after you do multiplication over here, you're not going to lose as much precision because we do multiplication. So it's like scale up and then scale down to avoid this precision loss when we do the divide first. All right. So over here we're going to calculate the so we divide this 10 to the 18. So that gives you the per token price, and then you times the amount, how many token you are going to borrow. So this gives you the total amount of Ethereum that you need to pay, which is basically double of the value of the amount of this amount. So this amount of token worth how much, and then you double that. And this deposit factor is actually the number 2. So in other words, going back to here, line 34 is going to return back the amount of Ethereum that's required to be the collateral. And then we're going to check, is the user send sufficient collateral? If not, revert. If yes, then we're going to give back the change. We don't want to take the whole MSG value. So we take back the difference, which is the change. We call the send value to send the extra change of Ethereum back to the user. So once we have done that, we are going to do some accounting. So in this case, we're going to record how much money is deposited by the borrower. So this is a deposit required, which is this. So this is the amount of money we actually accepted to the contract. And then we're going to send the token to the recipient because that's the amount he borrowed. So we send the amount of the token to the recipient. If it's not successful, means it's returned false, then we're going to revert it. And finally, we just emit the event. Okay, so very, very simple borrowing protocol, but I think this is the first time we talk about borrowing. So this is how you borrow. You put money in of A, you take the money B out, but A is there. So if you don't return, the contract is going to keep the A. I don't see any function that you can repay. Basically, how can you repay the debt back. That's for the next exercise. All right. So the only piece of the puzzle we need to explain more is about this. So how do we attack this? Well, you can imagine the way to attack it is probably you can manipulate the oracle. In other words, interact the Unis pair. So somehow we need to deploy that too. We're going to explain how we are going to do that. So the way to do that is you only have uh, 25 Ethereum and 1,000 DVT. Okay, so the way to do that is you can put it in the 1,000 DVT into the Uniswap, because Uniswap right now only have 10 Ethereum and 10 DVT, so the price is each token is going to be 1 Ethereum, very expensive. But if you can exchange 1,000 DVT here with with this Uniswap, then the price is going to be uh, much cheaper, So that's you can, maybe you don't put it in all the 1,000, but you can put in more and more into Uniswap. You have to calculate how many you want to put in. So in this way, anyway, the price for each DVT becomes cheaper because there are so many DVT in the Uniswap exchange. So once the DVT price becomes cheaper, then now you can use only a little bit of Ethereum to borrow all of the 100,000 DVT. You borrow all of them. So once you borrow all of them using a little Ethereum, then you succeeded the challenge. So essentially, we manipulate the challenge. So the next puzzle we need to solve is how can we deploy our own Uniswap, because you don't want to attack the official Uniswap. So you have to deploy your own Uniswap contract to do your own thing. Okay. So the way to do that is you complete the challenge over here. Basically, you already have a script. So the script, I'm going to go through this quickly. In the beginning, we have a few constants which require Uniswap V1 exchange, Uniswap V1 factory, which is under, if you want to read it, it's right under go to the root directory in the GitHub, and then over here, the first folder. So you see two file over here, which is 2GSOM. And the 2GSOM basically is the API, the interface. So you can see, you can see the token in purchase, Ethereum purchase, add the liquidity. So these are input and output, remove liquidity. So people can add liquidity, remove liquidity, basically add both token in. So in this way, you have some, it's like a bank. So you have some liquidity, you can exchange one with other. Then you have transfer, there's approval, there's a setup, there's add liquidity, and so on. Okay. I'm not going to explain each one, so you can go to a little bit of detail by yourself. This is exchange. The other one is the factory, which allows you to deploy the pair. So you create exchange, get exchange, get token, and so on. So, but fortunately, you already have the script over here that allows you to deploy this automatically for you. So, so there's a function calculate token to Ethereum input price, which is right over here, based on the very much based on the A divided by B, but there's a slight adjustment over here. And then a few constant over here, which is, basically you have 10 Ethereum and 10 tokens in liquidity. So, and then you have 25 in your hand, and this is in the land pool, in the popular land pool. So you have 25 Ethereum, 1,000 actually 10,000 in the pair. So this is what the pair has, and then there's 100,000 initial token DVT in the pool and in pool. So you get two signers, they deploy in a player, and then you create two factory. One is Uniswap Exchange Factory, the other is Uniswap Factory, and both of them is based on the ABI. We already look at the two file, and then set initial balance for the player, and set it, and then we check if it's set properly. And then here is the get a contract factory, then vulnerable token. So we deploy this token, which is DVT token. And then we deploy another two contract, which is Uniswap Exchange Factory. We deploy this template first, and then we then we deploy a Uniswap factory dot deploy. So both of them are deployed over here. And so once we have a factory deployed, we can use the factory to create exchange. So factory is like manufacturer. So create exchange. You take two arguments in the constructor. One is the token, and then the other is the gas limit. And then once we have do that, we're going to attach this to the exchange, and then we deploy the landing pool, which is the Puppet. We got a token pair again over here. You put two arguments. One is the token you're going to land, and the other is the Oracle address, which is Uniswap Exchange in this case. And then we call the approval function, allows the Uniswap to have the token reserve, to have the initial liquidity. So you can add the liquidity over here, add liquidity over here, and then we are going to call the price, make sure the price is proper, okay, which is, giving 10 Ethereum, how much it's going to be? It should be equal to 10 as well. Then we are going to do the transfer to the player, transfer to the landing, so that the player in the landing pool will have the initial amount of tokens as well. And then we check that's set properly. So a lot of setup. And then your code should go here. After your code is finished, you're supposed to be achieve the challenge. So 3 check over here. The first check is the player is only one transaction. So we count how many transactions have you done it, only one transaction. The second one is the balance of landing pool is now 0. So you still own it. And the last one is now the player have all the, which is pool initial token balance. So you take it all of it. So this is how it works. In addition, you can also go to the Uniswap website. Right now it's version 3, but you are going to use version 1. So there are some documentation over here about V1 protocol. So there are a few functions which are important. One is add liquidity. The idea of add liquidity is just adding 2 pairs, or you take liquidity. So this is called liquidity providers. So that's one kind of user. The other kind of user is end users, like us, who like to exchange A to B and exchange B to A. So that you're going to call a function called swap to do that. Okay. So anyway, we in our case we don't do too much of this. So that's very much of it. Hope you can solve this challenge. This is a little bit more complicated than previous one because you now involve a very mature exchange protocol, Uniswap. I would say Uniswap is the golden standard, I say, for the DeFi world. So everybody should be very, very familiar with Uniswap. You should read the Uniswap as possible. I'm going to maybe send documentation very soon So everybody will read that. It's called the swap book. Okay, so thank you so much. Have a nice day.